Talagunda is located in the Shikaripura taluk of Shimoga district of Karnataka. The small village has a deep historical importance to Kannada and Karnataka. According to inscriptional records, this region was under the Satavahana rule around the 1st and 2nd century AD. Historically, this village was also known as Sthanakundura and as Sthanakunjapura. Talagunda was built as an agrahara, a Brahmin settlement, by relocating 32 Brahmins, or in some accounts 32 Brahmin families, from Ahichatra in Uttar Pradesh. This was done under Mukkanna, also known as Trilochana or Trinetra, who was the ancestor of Mayura Sharma, the founder of Kadambas. Talagunda was therefore the hometown of Kadambas, the first Kannada dynasty. The Pranaveshwara Temple here is a small, square-shaped simple temple with a sanctum and a vestibule. In the sanctum, it houses a tall Shivalinga on a Bhadrapita. This lingam, also known as Pranaveshwara Linga, is the most ancient Shivalinga of Karnataka. The Talagunda inscription found in this temple premises mentions that the temple had active worship from the time of Shatakarni. Some scholars think that this was Gautamiputra Shatakarni, the Satavahana king who ruled around 1st or 2nd century AD. An old temple of the Satavahana period that existed here may have been rebuilt with stone by the Kadambas around the 4th century AD. On the right door jamb of this temple, there is a Sanskrit inscription with an invocation to god Pashupati that mentions about a grant of money for feeding 30 residents of Sthanakunjapura by Kakusta of the Bhattari family. His mother Lakshmi is said to be born in the Kadamba family. This Kakusta of Bhattari family may have been a feudatory under the Kadambas. Within this premises, in front of the Pranaveshwara Temple, is a Talagunda Pillar inscription dated to the 5th century AD. This inscription was discovered in 1894 by B.L. Rice, who was then the director of archaeological researches in Mysore and a pioneer in historical studies related to Karnataka. This pillar has a base that is squarish. Then there is an octagonal face with inscriptions, followed by a tapering top section. There are inscriptions on all the 8 faces of the octagonal section. In 7 of the faces, there are 2 lines written vertically, and on the 8th side, there is only one short line. The inscription is written in the Kannada script of those days with box-headed Kadamba characters. The language of the inscription is poetic Sanskrit. It was written by Kubja, the court poet of the Kadamba king Shantivarman. Kubja wrote it as a kavya or poem, and it has 34 poetic verses that follow the Chanda rules of Sanskrit poetry. It was meant to be a record of the tank that the king Shantivarman's father Kakustavarman had gifted to the Pranaveshwara Temple. But it has significant other details, including the story behind the origin of Kadambas and the circumstances under which Mayura Sharma laid the foundation for the kingdom. According to this inscription, Mayura Sharma went to Kanchi, the capital of the Pallavas, to pursue his Vedic studies, accompanied by his guru and grandfather Veera Sharma. Kanchi was an important Ghatikasthana or a center for higher learning in those days. In Kanchi, he was humiliated by a Pallava horseman, and this enrages him. He gives up his studies and takes up the sword to avenge his insult. The Kadamba kingdom was born out of the successful rebellion of the Brahmins against the Kshatriya power of the Pallavas of Kanchi. The inscription briefly describes how Mayura Sharma slowly established the Kadamba dynasty, and later even the Pallavas began to respect him. The inscription also gives the list of all the Kadamba rulers until Shantivarman, the king of that day. It portrays the Kadambas as generous donors and benefactors to religious and social causes. It acknowledges the Brahminical status of the Kadamba rulers, but at the same time, it highlights their ability to become Kshatriya-like soldiers willing to wage war against their enemies. It gives evidence for the existence of a Shiva temple in Talagunda and for Shiva worship prior to 450 AD. It also describes certain cultural values present in the 5th century AD in India, such as the mention of music and Lakshmi as goddess of wealth. The inscription mentions that Kakusthavarman's daughter was married to the Gupta dynasty. Thus we learn about the practice of marriage between kingdoms of North India and South India in those days. It also describes the different virtues required for a king. Someone who has compassion for the needy, gives proper protection to the people, and relief to the distressed. These are mentioned as the rational ornament of a ruler. The Talagunda Pillar inscription is therefore one of the most significant inscriptions with respect to the history and culture of Karnataka. Recently, the Pranaveshwara Temple has gained historical importance for one other detail that was discovered here during the excavations conducted by the Archaeological Society of India in 2013-14. The oldest Kannada inscription that we know is the Halmidi inscription, found from a small village called Halmidi in Hassan district and dating to around 450 AD. In 2013-14, the ASI conducted excavations in the Pranaveshwara Temple at Talagunda. The excavations unearthed some old brick structures which are considered to belong to the older period temple built by the Satavahanas around the 2nd and 3rd century AD. The Kadambas later modified the temple in stone and added additional structures. One such structure that was revealed during the excavation was the remains of a Mahamandapa added during the Kadamba period. The Mahamandapa had lion balustrade steps made out of greenish grey schist stone on the east and 2 lateral entrances at the north and south directions. The north side balustrade has an inscription that is provisionally dated to around 370 AD. It is a dual language inscription with Kannada and Sanskrit words. If the dating of this inscription is confirmed to 370 AD, it would make it the oldest Kannada inscription, predating the Halmidi inscription by almost 80 years. The inscription speaks about the land gifted to a boatman named Vaginaga of Boygara family by one Halami of Pulindage. Another inscription was found in the south side balustrade. This inscription has been dated to the early Kadamba period and prior to the Talagunda Pillar inscription. It speaks about one Chandraditya, and the Pranaveshwara Temple is known as Mahadeva. This inscription describes a grant awarded by a local administrator, Chandraditya, to Naganna, a barber. These newly found inscriptions have Kannada words such as Kotta, Nalku, and Halimi. This is the first ancient inscription in which the word Navida, which means barber, has been found.